Imagine a world where justice was served with iron claws, bone-crushing wheels, and machines so vile they'd make your skin crawl. Welcome to the Middle Ages, where torture devices weren't just tools, they were nightmares forged in steel. Did you know some of these horrors were so terrifying that even hardened criminals begged for mercy before the first turn of the screw? Today, we're diving into the 5 most chilling medieval torture devices that'll haunt your dreams. And trust me, you'll never look at history the same way again. From contraptions that tore flesh to others that broke the human spirit, these devices were the stuff of legends and terror. Stick with me, because by the end, you'll be shocked at the ingenuity and cruelty of our ancestors. What's the creepiest historical fact you've ever heard? Drop it in the comments. Let's see if it tops these. Let's start with a device so infamous it's synonymous with medieval horror, the Iron Maiden. Picture a tall, coffin-like cabinet, its interior lined with razor-sharp spikes designed to pierce, but not kill, its victim. The Iron Maiden was a masterclass in psychological terror. The moment that heavy door creaked open, the condemned knew they were in for agony. As it closed, those spikes would puncture arms, legs, and torso, causing excruciating pain without hitting vital organs. Death was slow, often from blood loss or infection, and the worst part? Some say victims were left inside for days, their screams muffled by the iron walls. While its use is debated among historians, some argue it was more myth than reality. Records from places like Nuremberg in the 1500s suggest otherwise. The Iron Maiden was a symbol of dread, a reminder that justice could be as creative as it was cruel. Imagine being trapped in that spiked coffin. Could you stay calm, or would panic take over? Share your thoughts below. I'm curious. Now let's step into the shadow of a device that turned bones to dust, the breaking wheel. This wasn't just a wheel, it was a public spectacle of destruction. The victim was tied to a large wooden wheel, their limbs stretched across its spokes. Then, the executioner would swing a heavy iron bar, smashing the arms and legs into pulp. The goal wasn't instant death, but prolonged suffering. In some cases, the broken body was left on the wheel, displayed in town squares as a warning to others. Historical accounts from France and Germany describe crowds gathering to watch, some even cheering as the blows landed. But here's the chilling detail. Sometimes the executioner would grant mercy by delivering a final blow to the chest, ending the ordeal. Mercy, in this case, was just a quicker death. The breaking wheel was a grim reminder of medieval society's obsession with public punishment. If you were in that crowd, would you look away or be drawn to the horror? Let me know in the comments. Next, let's talk about a device that sounds like it was dreamed up by a madman, the Pear of Anguish. This small, pear-shaped metal tool was deceptively simple but diabolically cruel. Inserted into the mouth or other sensitive areas, the pear would be twisted open, its segments expanding to tear tissue and cause unimaginable pain. Used primarily on those accused of heresy or slander, it was a favorite in ecclesiastical courts. The pear's design ensured maximum suffering with minimal effort. Turn the screw, and the victim's screams would follow. Surviving records from the Spanish Inquisition mention its use, often paired with interrogations to extract confessions. What makes the pear so haunting is its intimacy. It wasn't a grand public display, but a private torment, often in dark, damp dungeons. The thought of that cold metal expanding inside someone is enough to make anyone shudder. What's a modern tool that gives you the creeps just thinking about it? Drop it below. Let's compare. Now, let's descend into the claustrophobic terror of the Scavenger's daughter. Unlike the sprawling breaking wheel, this device was all about compression. Shaped like an A-frame, it forced the victim into a fetal position, their head, knees, and feet locked together. As the frame tightened, ribs cracked, joints popped, and breathing became a struggle. Invented in England during the reign of Henry VIII, it was named after its creator, a man with a twisted sense of irony. The Scavenger's daughter was the opposite of the rack, which stretched its victims. This device crushed them, often causing internal bleeding or suffocation. What's truly unsettling is how portable it was. Executioners could carry it to any dungeon, making it a go-to for quick, brutal interrogations. Some victims were left in it for hours, their bodies contorted beyond recognition. Could you endure even a minute in that crushing embrace? Share your gut reaction in the comments. I want to hear it. Finally, let's face the rack, the king of medieval torture devices. This was the ultimate test of human endurance. The victim was strapped to a wooden frame, their wrists and ankles tied to rollers at each end. With every turn of the crank, the ropes tightened, stretching the body inch by agonizing inch. Joints dislocated, muscles tore, and bones sometimes snapped. The rack was a staple in European dungeons, especially during the Inquisition, where it was used to extract confessions from heretics and rebels. In England, it was famously employed at the Tower of London, with records describing victims enduring hours of stretching before breaking. The worst part? The executioner could pause, letting the victim linger in pain, hoping for a confession that might spare them, though it rarely did. The rack wasn't just physical torture. It was a psychological battle, pushing the mind to its limits. If you were facing the rack, what would you cling to stay strong? Tell me in the comments. Let's dig into that. These 5 devices, the Iron Maiden, Breaking Wheel, Pear of Anguish, Scavenger's Daughter, and rack, weren't just tools of punishment. They were engineered to instill fear. But why were medieval societies so obsessed with such cruelty? Part of it was practical. Public torture deterred crime in a world without police or prisons. A thief caught stealing might face the Pear of Anguish, ensuring others thought twice. But there was also a deeper, almost theatrical purpose. Torture was a spectacle, a way to reinforce power. Kings, nobles, and the church used these devices to show they controlled life and death. Crowds didn't just watch. They participated, shouting insults or prayers, making justice a community event. Yet, not everyone approved. Some medieval chroniclers, like Jean Froissart, wrote with unease about the brutality, hinting at a growing discomfort with such extremes. If you could rewrite medieval laws, what punishment would you replace these with? Share your ideas below. I'm all ears. Let's zoom in on the people behind these devices, because they're just as chilling. Executioners weren't outcasts. They were professionals, often trained for years. They had to know anatomy to maximize pain without killing too quickly. In cities like Paris or London, executioners were local celebrities, feared but respected. They lived on the edge of society, their homes often outside town walls, yet they were essential. Some even passed the trade down through generations, like a twisted family business. But here's the human side. Many executioners struggled with their role. Church records from Germany mention some seeking absolution for their sinful work. Imagine the toll of wielding the breaking wheel day after day. Would that weigh on your conscience? What job today do you think carries a similar moral burden? Drop it in the comments. Let's unpack that. Now, let's talk about the victims, because their stories are what make these devices truly haunting. Take the case of Guy Fawkes, stretched on the rack in 1605 for his role in the gunpowder plot. His signature on confessions grew shakier with each session, a silent testament to the rack's power. Or consider the countless unnamed heretics, accused witches, and petty thieves who faced the Pear of Anguish or Scavenger's Daughter. Many were innocent, caught in a web of superstition or political intrigue. The Iron Maiden, if used, would have been reserved for high-profile cases, its spikes a grim warning to rebels. The breaking wheel, meanwhile, was democratic in its cruelty. Nobles and peasants alike could end up on it. These weren't just punishments. They were personal. Families watched loved ones suffer, powerless to help. If you could save one historical figure from these tortures, who would it be? Share your pick below. I'm curious. The settings for these tortures add another layer of dread. Dungeons were dark, damp, and freezing, often carved deep into castle basements or city towers. The Tower of London, for instance, was infamous for its rack, its stone walls echoing with screams. In Spain, Inquisition chambers were lit by flickering torches, casting eerie shadows as the Pear of Anguish did its work. Public squares, on the other hand, were stages for the breaking wheel, with crowds packing in for a front-row seat. The Scavenger's daughter, being portable, could pop up anywhere, a reminder that no place was safe. These spaces were designed to amplify fear, from the claustrophobic Iron Maiden to the exposed wheel in the town square. If you had to pick, which would terrify you more, a private dungeon or a public execution? Let me know in the comments. Let's dive into that fear. Let's pull back and ask, what drove this obsession with pain? Medieval Europe was a harsh world. Plagues, wars, and famines made life precarious. Torture was a way to impose order, to draw a line between us and them. Heretics threatened the church's power, so they faced the Pear of Anguish. Rebels challenged kings, so they met the rack. Even petty crimes like theft could land you on the breaking wheel, because survival demanded control. But there's a twist. These devices also reveal human creativity. The same minds that built cathedrals designed the Scavenger's daughter. It's a dark paradox, our capacity for beauty and cruelty intertwined. Today, we look back and shudder. But are we so different? What modern practice do you think future generations will judge us for? Drop your thoughts below. Let's get deep. As we wrap up, let's reflect on the legacy of these devices. The Iron Maiden, whether real or exaggerated, lives on in horror movies and heavy metal album covers. The rack inspired tales of martyrdom, while the breaking wheel's grim spectacle echoes in our fascination with true crime. The Pear of Anguish and Scavenger's daughter remind us how far we've come, and how fragile our humanity can be. These 5 devices weren't just tools, they were mirrors, reflecting a society grappling with fear, power, and justice. Yet they also sparked change. By the 1700s, thinkers like Voltaire were calling for reform, horrified by the cruelty of the past. We've swapped wheels for courtrooms, but the echoes remain. If you could erase one of these devices from history, which would it be? Share your choice in the comments. I want to know. Here's the payoff. These 5 torture devices, the Iron Maiden, Breaking Wheel, Pear of Anguish, Scavenger's Daughter, and Rack, aren't just relics of a brutal age. They're warnings. They show what happens when fear overrides compassion, when power demands pain. But they also tell stories of resilience, of people who faced the unthinkable and left their mark on history. So, next time you hear a creaky door or see a rusty tool, think about the medieval world, where every turn of the screw carried a message. Your challenge: dig into one dark corner of history this week. Maybe read about a medieval trial or visit a museum with old artifacts. Share what you find in the comments. I'm dying to hear. If this journey creeped you out, smash that like button, share this video with your history-loving friends, and subscribe for more spine-chilling dives into the past. Trust me, our next video will make your hair stand on end. What's the most haunting thing you learned today? Drop it below and let's keep the chills coming.